attention, please.
Give him a heater.
You're now listening to
Clear the Mechanism.
The Robby Rose Show. The Robby Rose Show.
Okay, yeah, it's been a while. All right, so we're live. I'm actually in a new podcast, quote unquote, studio, aka mom and dad's house / office, which you guys don't even care about. But just to give you a quick update as far as what's new on my front, for those of you guys who are interested in and that don't follow me on Instagram. Actually, if you don't follow me on Instagram, do so. Robby Row12, Robby with a Y. Sorry about it. So yeah, lots been going on. I moved. I was in Omaha working with Dr. Heenan, as you guys know. And then I moved back to California, which is a funny story because I moved back because Omaha is snowing and I couldn't get outside in Long Toss, so I was forced to do a lot of indoor stuff. And so I moved back to California, moved in with mom and dad. Expecting to, have good weather and be outside and long toss and this and that. And the first, I think, 10 days I was home, just rain. And it was tough. But today, day after Christmas, Merry Christmas, by the way, is a really nice day. Sunny, blue skies. I wanted to do a podcast for a while. I really just hadn't had the right time. A lot going on. At the time of this, like I said, December 26th, I'm still a free agent. So for those of you guys who are interested in my journey, still a free agent and working hard towards getting a contract. My goal would be to get a contract for spring training and be ready to rock there. From a health standpoint, I feel good. The recovery is the thing that's probably the last piece to the puzzle, but everything's going well. I'll probably be throwing a bullpen here within the next few days, and my goal of that bullpen would be to have I want to say 97.5 on like a report or a video of a stock or gun or something like that. So 97.5 would be my next goal in a bullpen. What else? What else is new? Not much, I guess. Besides that, got finally all settled in, shooting some good content. Had some redesign on the website, therobbyrowshow.com. You can go check that out. I kind of wanted to redesign my membership tiers because, like I said, a couple podcasts ago, it's going to be really difficult on me once the season gets going and Lord willing that I do get a contract and I'm playing. It's going to be really hard to do a lot of one-on-one stuff. So the way that I'm trying to set my website up now is that, you sign up, you register, you pay a monthly subscription, and then you basically get, my personalized content directed towards, a mass majority. I'll still have my analysis, my one-time mechanical analysis option, which I also just made an adjustment to. I've gotten a lot of requests to do follow-up analysis afterwards or after the original one. So now I have an option where, if you do want that follow-up analysis, say, a month or two down the road, you can purchase an analysis with a follow-up. So a regular analysis is $100 and you can purchase in a follow-up analysis. And the total for that would be $150, I believe it is. So I think that just about sums it up for that. And as always, I want to thank the sponsors that not only sponsor the podcast, but sponsor myself. Just me with products. Obviously, Oat Specialties. I got a discount, 10% off all their stuff. I use all their stuff. Honestly, they have the best stuff, man. The coolest stuff. I partnered with Pitch Logic, which is a pitch tracking ball that I will link if you're interested in. Again, if you haven't seen my stuff on Instagram, I'll link all of this stuff in the show notes for you to go check out. Not only videos of me using these products, but a discount option as well. So the show notes of this episode, therobbyrowshow.com/overload. The topic that we're going to talk about here in a bit is information overload. So therobbyrowshow.com/overload, OVERLOAD. whatever platform you're listening to it on, I found out that I can link my show notes page into the actual like podcast platform, I think, and hopefully you can just look at it and click it. But so not only did I partner with Pitch Logic here in the last few weeks, but I also partnered with Diamond Kinetics. I've done a lot of videos on them, just like comparing, that ball with a stalker gun or a Rapsodo or a pocket radar. I'm wanting to do a lot more comparison videos here in the near future. I have 3 balls that are pitch trackers, and I have a Rapsodo, and I also am trying to work on a partnership with like a TrackMan or a Yacker Tech in the near future, because I would love to bring you guys some more like comparison videos, because there's not a whole lot of them out there. And I know for you guys being, a potential customer, you're kind of sitting there like, well, which one's the best? Which one do I buy? This one's more expensive. Why? Blah, blah, blah. So I will say that my experience with the Diamond Kinetics ball and the Pitch Logic ball they're really, really impressive. Again, I'll link the videos and stuff and in the show notes. I don't have like a legit comparison with the Pitch Logic and a Rapsodo. I have a very brief comparison. I shot content on a day that I wasn't, throwing a max intensity bullpen or anything, but you can tell just from that comparison video that it's pretty dang good. And always, as always, Pocket Radar. I actually just had the opportunity to tour their warehouse / building / office thing like a week ago, and it was super cool. They actually hooked it up with a smart display. So just to break it down a little bit, what they got me set up with now is a like little screen, like how Stalker has their LED screen. So Pocket Radar has like this little box that you plug into an outlet, or you can operate it with batteries, so it's portable. And then you can take a cord and take that cord from the box / display to the Pocket Radar. So then you can power the Pocket Radar from the box, and you get your speed displays on that little box. Because what I was struggling with in the last few months was when they did the voice thing back to you, when you record it on your phone, I wasn't able to hear it. But now I got a suite set up in the backyard where I put the box up on the screen and then just connect it to the Pocket Radar. So then the Pocket Radar doesn't even need batteries. You can just plug in, a little cord there. So then it will power that. And then not only can you do that, but you can Bluetooth your phone to the Pocket Radar. So you get your speeds on a video on your iPhone, and you get your speeds on the smart display little box thing too. So I'm like stoked because I have that. Now I have a Stalker 2 Pro gun as well. So last night, just in the backyard, I shot some video with Pocket Radar comparisons to like a Stalker, and I wasn't really going like super hard until maybe the last like 3 or 4 throws at the end, and I was right around like 90, 92. But it was pretty impressive. The Pocket Radar is pretty much spot on with a Stalker, and you're talking a very affordable price point. So head over the show notes, therobbyroshow.com/overload, and I will get you a discount code so you can save about 40, I think maybe 40 or $50 on a Smart Coach Pocket Radar. So be sure to go to those show notes. Or if you're on Instagram, you can DM me. Or if you're really struggling with that, email me, contact robbyrow@gmail.com. I will say, dude, like these last few weeks have been tough on the DMs on Instagram. So if you're someone that did reach out in the DMs and I haven't responded, I apologize. I'm telling you, like the best way is if you have something that you want to talk about, reach out to me on the email. That's where I see most of my stuff. So, all right, all that stuff being said, let me get comfortable. Right there, I got a beard bun in, so you're welcome. Let me grip a baseball while I talk about this, and let's go. All right, so like I said, guys, we're going to talk about information overload, and I think it's a super prevalent topic to talk about, because we do live in a society where we're super connected to tons and tons of information. And another reason why I do want to talk about this is because this is something that hits home for me too. So just to give you a little background on my journey, I got drafted at 18. So I was a senior in high school and I got drafted. I was a pretty high pick, 88th overall. And, I had a good understanding for what I was doing, and I've obviously always worked hard, and I had a dad that played in the major league. So I was ahead of the curve as far as like knowing what to do and knowing how to go about it. And it kind of, as soon as I got into pro ball, that mindset kind of switched to the sense of like everything now I was just new to it. I kind of approached the game like it was a completely different game, and I needed to seek out information after information from, this coach, that coach, this. And, before we really dive into this, I want to first and foremost say, like, I don't blame any coach or any instructor or any coordinator, for my mishaps throughout my career. That's not who I am. That's something that maybe I did in the beginning of when I was struggling was, obviously you want to push blame or find an excuse to make yourself feel better for sucking. But at the end of the day, it's going to be on you. So, when I was 18, like I said, I got drafted and signed right away and went and pitched that first year. And something about my mindset, something about was like, I don't know if there was a whole lot of trust behind how I was going about my work and how I was essentially throwing a baseball, from a mechanic standpoint. I've always kind of been like that. I still am like that in the sense of wanting information and wanting to, seek out other people's opinions and stuff like that, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing. So that's why I'm really excited to talk about this topic today, just because there's such a fine line. Because on one hand, you have the guy that, you perceive him as like, oh man, that guy's a grinder, like he's going about it the right way because he's always seeking out information and he's just a sponge and he's soaking up this and that. Like that's how I am, and that's how I was at this age too. But on the other hand, you have the guy that is constantly trying to tinker and constantly trying to like change things that worked. So like I stated before, I was 88th overall, so something was working, something I was doing was right. And I think once I got into pro ball, I was like, I got to do more. I got to be better. And obviously you want to be better, right? You don't want to be content, but at that same time, it's about like, okay, who am I? And I think that was something I talk about a lot, obviously, is like having an identity and knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, knowing how you attack that stuff. And again, I was 18, right? So I think there's a huge learning curve, but basically what I was unable to do at that point in my career was to cipher out information, to have that professional filter. And what I mean by that is obviously there's going to be a ton of input, right? There's going to be a ton of input. Like I mentioned, dude, in this society, in this culture that we live in, you go to your smartphone, you go to YouTube, and you can become an expert on something within 24 hours. So it's like the information is all right there, and it's really easy to, I would say, like lose yourself in that, and not really stick to your guns in that sense. So just to kind of break down what happened to me was, I had a certain regimen in high school that obviously made me feel and perform exceptionally well. And then as soon as I got into pro ball, there was these outside sources saying, oh, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And this, it's pro ball now and we don't throw this much, or we don't throw this way, or we don't long toss, or we don't do these bullpens, or this and that. And instead of like me trying to reason with them and just say like, okay, I hear what you're saying or whatever, it was just, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think at the baseline or at the root of all of this is a personality trait that I have, in the sense of I want to please everybody. I want to make sure that everyone's, happy and pleased with me and they like me. And, I'll do whatever it takes for that. And obviously in the baseball world, it's so much of it is centered on performance, right? So as you perform well, obviously your coach is going to like you. You perform well, your pitching coach, your organization, they're going to be pleased with you. So I think once I started not performing well, I was seeking out other avenues to essentially please people. And that was like, hey, let's go throw a touch field. Let's go to early work and like, let's talk about mechanics and let's do this and that. And, when you're in an organization, there's a lot of pitching coaches around, especially like in spring training. And, I was in extended spring training and I was instructional league guy. So I was constantly around a ton of input. And, not everyone's input's going to be the same. Everyone's kind of going to have their different theories or reasons or whatever. And so I think at that time, once I did start failing just like a little bit, I was seeking out like, okay, well, how do I go about this? Like, who can I talk to, or who can I please, or how can I get better? And I think just through that process, I just lost sight completely of my foundation as an athlete, right? So I've been extremely vocal about that on Instagram and on certain blogs that I'll, again, link into the show notes. I have one particular blog, an Arm Path blog, that I open up a little bit about that subject. And again, like I just lost sight of like, holy smokes, how do I throw a baseball? Like, what are my cues? Because again, it goes back to that fine line. Like, you're in high school and I'm pitching and I'm playing shortstop and I'm having fun and I'm not over analyzing anything because it's just baseball and it's just something to do and it's fun. You're with your boys, and obviously it changed for me a little bit when, I had like 50 to 100 scouts at games, but at the same time, I didn't have anything to overanalyze because the input wasn't that much. I mean, my dad did a fantastic job raising me, in the sense of, kind of avoiding that, not throwing too many things at me at once. And again, man, so I think moving forward, I think there's two different types of like components to this, because I'm super grateful for having gone through that. And it obviously absolutely sucked at the time, right? You're a high pick and you're going through a ton of stuff, and then you get traded and you have a little success, and then you go through it again. But at the same time, like I mentioned, I'm grateful for that, because it's an opportunity for me to do these things, right? Do this podcast and maybe reach someone that's in that same boat, struggling with this same type of thing or same type of dynamic. And maybe I can reach that person before they really dive down the rabbit hole. I use an analogy that I heard in the movie The Replacements, and this was exactly what I was going through at this time. And it was, it's like quicksand, man. It's like quicksand in the sense of you get stuck in it, and then the harder that you try to get out, meaning, the harder that I tried to fix my mechanical flaws or fix my, my failure or whatever, just the deeper and deeper I sank. And it's tough. I mean, it's hard. The game's hard in and of itself. And then when you start getting, between the ears, that starts, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're an athlete, you kind of know what I mean there, in the sense of the mental component to it. But yeah, I think, for those individuals that are a sponge, that pride themselves on their ability to always seek out information. I'm not sitting here saying that it's bad, but I am sitting here and saying, never lose sight on who you are as an athlete or as an individual, right? Like, have an anchor, have a foundation. And I think for me, if I could go back, and again, I don't regret anything. Like I said, I'm grateful for it, but if I could go back to that time in my career, I would always just remember, like, be athletic, man. Just be athletic. That was one thing when I got into pro ball. I was a pitcher only now. So for some reason, I just went about everything as a pitcher. And every throw that I made in catch play, it was, okay, leg lift, separate, and land, go. Here we go. Hip rotation, boom. And every throw that I made in a bullpen was just like super, I just felt like robotic. And you do that so many times and you just start becoming a robot. So I think, again, if I could go back, it would just be, okay, athletic. Be an athlete, man. Be an athlete. And I think if I could instill that foundation in me back then, I would be a lot better. Because again, I'm no matter what, I'm going to seek out information. I just like knowing things, and I like consulting with people and hearing their opinions and their voice. But, again, I just didn't have that foundation back then. So I lost it. But now I can get that information. I can have that input, and I can filter it out and be like, okay, well, this little cue or this mechanical thing here, like, does this and that, but maybe it's just not for me. Whereas, the flip side of that, back in 2011 or whatever it was, someone would have an input on, maybe a curveball or how to, throw harder, or whatever, like the littlest thing may be. And it was like, oh yeah. Let me get that. And it wasn't in the sense of, oh, that doesn't feel good, dude. Like, let's bang that. It was just, yes, sir. More. And it's draining. That's draining from a physical standpoint and an emotional standpoint. And it's something that I think not a lot of people talk about in regards to how detrimental like input can be sometimes, especially when you're dealing with, youth athletes. I think this is the biggest disconnect within the whole quote unquote like pitching lessons. And someone asked a really good question on an IG Q&A that I did the other day on my opinions on it. And I think they're great. And if they're great if they're used the right way, because the danger that we get in sometimes as instructors is we give them so much at once because we want to help. And again, it's no disrespect to anyone. It's all in, it's all in good, like, caring for the athlete. We want them to have the information that we have. We want them to succeed. So our natural human response is to just say, hey, do this, hurry up, and like, here, do this, do that, and succeed. And I think the danger in that is you give that input to that person, and instead of, making strides in the right direction, they're sitting there like thinking, okay, well, I got to do this. And he said something about separate at my peak leg lift. And then he said something about my rotation. And he said something about my back foot. So now you have an athlete that's constantly sitting there thinking over and over again in their head. And what does that do, right? Like, you think so much, you naturally take your athleticism away. And again, I'm not sitting here saying don't do mechanical adjustments, don't work with anyone. That's not my goal in doing this podcast. But it's simply just, understanding that, not all information is gospel. Not all things that are said to you are going to be be absolute for you. Everyone's different. But I think what we start creating in that environment of pitching lessons are essentially robots. I sat in on lessons, here in Santa Rosa, California. My boy Casey Hollenberger at FBK1, shout out. I'll be there a lot. So if you're in the area, be sure to hit me up, email me. We'll book a lesson for you. But I've been sitting in on a lot of their stuff, and you have a lot of kids that they'll throw a pitch and then like immediately look to the instructor. And it's like, that's not what we want, man. Like, we want your feedback to be your feedback, because at the end of the day, the pitcher's feedback is what we got. Yeah, an instructor can sit there and be like, hey, this is what I saw, what do you got, or whatever. But, I think it takes away from the athlete and what he's trying to accomplish and what he's trying to feel for himself. So, but yeah, I think it's tough, right? Because there's so many things that I hit on today that are like, oh yeah, if I want to improve as a pitcher or as a baseball player, I want to take the next step in my development. I'll do a bunch of lessons, and I'll do a bunch of training, and I'll seek out a ton of information, and I'll spend all day on YouTube and this and that. And I just basically said, like, I just talked about all of that in a negative context. So I do want to reiterate, man, like, it's not all bad, but I want to make sure that you understand, that it can be detrimental if perceived the wrong way. So just to recap, instill a foundation, instill an anchor in you as an athlete, something that you can always go back to when you kind of lose yourself, because self-discovery is huge. So always have that. And again, it's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. So just, again, those little tiny things that we can always hold on to, through those moments are huge, man. And then two, again, just know that it's not a bad thing. I'm not talking bad about those guys that are seeking out information, but just know that it's really easy to fall down that rabbit hole of having so much info. You get that information overload, you get that paralysis by analysis. You're trying so hard, and then next thing you know, like you blow up. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to you listening to this, but I wanted to do my due diligence in recording this and getting that out there. I want to try to link another talking segment that I did. I want to say it's on the similar subject of information overload, paralysis by analysis. But again, head over to the show notes, therobbyrowshow.com/overload for everything mentioned, discount codes, sponsors, videos, all of that stuff. That's over in the show notes. So it's good to be back. I appreciate you guys. If you have yet to subscribe, go ahead and do so. And if you haven't noticed, I got a new podcast logo, and it's freaking sweet, right? So I'll be posting more about my comeback journey on Instagram. So be sure to go check that out. And as always, guys, always a pleasure. Much love. God bless. And until next time, your boy's out. See you.